Well, it's Sunday up at the tiny house and getting ready to go home. I didn't really have time to film much video of what I did the last few days, but I figured it's going to be better just to kind of walk through it after it's done. I finished up the kitchen cabinets and countertops. Remedied a mistake that I made from the early part of having done this tiny house, to where I put that really small bar sink in there, which ended up being a huge mistake. I changed the faucet twice thinking I could make the sink work, and to be honest with you, I couldn't even really put a full-size spoon in that sink end for end. It was just too small. So I changed out that sink and went to a full-size sink. I repurposed a bunch of cabinets, turned some uppers into lowers, cut some stuff off in order to make the cabinets fit behind the sink and under the sink in front of all of the utility. We'll take a look, we'll walk through, and I'll just kind of show you what I did. Get to see the end result versus seeing the work in progress. So I hope you enjoy the video, and thanks for watching. Okay, so first things first here. I put all these cabinets in this whole wall. New countertops. Use the wood tops for the stove and the refrigerator. New countertop with the garages in the very back. Went with a drawer with a door. And the reason I ended up going with a drawer and a door versus all doors is I have the propane tank for the stove underneath the sink. We cut it around the fender, so we put it all in. We took an upper cabinet and we're using it as a lower, so we can get storage up underneath the cabinet. And then we also have an open garage underneath that cabinet. That just gives us extra space to be able to throw those things that you pull out all the time. I was keeping a toolbox in there, but now that this part of it is kind of done, I decided to scrap the toolbox, and we'll figure out what to put in there down the line. So let's go down by the refrigerator and take a look at the end of this row of cabinets. Okay, so the stove ends right here, and then the refrigerator starts down. I reused the wood tops that we had on the other countertops, turned them upside down, sanded them down, but I like these because of what they do for this little area. So we used an upper cabinet under the stove, but we also used the upper cabinet under the refrigerator. We needed just the right configuration to make it work, so we had to be a little creative with overhangs and cutting stuff in. I think it works really well. So coming down to this end component, we added drawers. I think it's important to have plenty of drawers. I was using baskets to store everything in the tiny house before, but what I discovered is it felt like I had a lot of stuff with the baskets, and now that the cabinets are in, I have more space than I have stuff. So I think that's a good problem to have, and we'll look to solve that as we move on. Let's come down and take a look at the finished garages with the cabinet base sets that are underneath that. Alright, so what we have here is the end of the cabinets. This is the biggest countertop space I have. I use it to house everything we have. I have the open shelving for the cabinets for the food and the things that we keep in here. But we added the drawer base, and then we added another drawer with doors underneath so we could put the recycling and the garbage underneath there. And then at the very end we added another set of drawers. The reason I added those drawers was so I had plenty of space, and I think that I've accomplished that. This is a nice working surface, gives us plenty of room, so we're going to be using this for future projects that I have planned. So let's take a look above the refrigerator. So above the refrigerator I added this other upper cabinet, just more space. I think you can't have enough space, so we just added more. It gives me another component. I raised the cast iron pans up. I raised this garage up so I'd have more room above the stove. And then I added this cabinet for extra space because it was just an empty wall taking up room. So I thought it was important to add this extra space for storage. Alright, so here's the kitchen cabinets, and these are two upper cabinets that I saved from an old project. What I did was I cut them shallow because a full 12 inches would not fit. So we cut them off, cut the shelves off. We still have shelves underneath, so we'll be able to store under there. And then we made it all work to come together to hide all of our utilities. So basic underneath we have our water tank, our pumps, our piping, our water lines, our electrical outlets, or our electrical service, and all of our other utilities, and we're hiding the workings underneath the sink. I added this cabinet on top to hide the water heater. So our water heater is tucked in behind this cabinet, and I'm using it for storing different types of utilities. My water fill up is right there, which we created this tube so we can fill our water up pretty easily. It works pretty well. Did really well with it this weekend. So let's take a look at the sink. So as part of that confessional, I talked about how I made the mistake of adding the small sink. So this is a full-size sink that I reclaimed from an old project that we had. It had been sitting in the garage collecting dust. I already had all of the fittings put on it, faucet put on it. So what I did was I decided I was going to get rid of the old sink and add the new sink. I had all the framing in for the old sink, so I just left that there, cut a new hole in the countertop, and set it all right into place. It ended up being a perfect fit. It takes up some counter space, but what I gain in counter space, I gain in convenience for being able to actually do my dishes and do the things that I need to do. You can see right now I have a sink full of done dishes that I'll be putting away before I leave, but I still have one whole empty bowl, which is really, really nice. So as you can see, it's been a busy last 3 days up here. I managed to finish my kitchen. So the floor is done, kitchen cabinets are in, countertops are on, plumbing is done, water heater is running, all the water and drains are working on the tiny house. Call it a successful last couple of days. All I can say is, as I look back upon this part of the project, I made some mistakes. I know that I should have went to the bigger sink right away. So if you watch this video and you're working on a tiny house or you're gonna start a tiny house, don't sacrifice that sink. It's too important. It really is a vital component of making your tiny house feel very livable. The other thing that I would say that I learned through the process was be vigilant of every opportunity to use whatever you can get your hands on. I know I have a lot of cabinets in this tiny house, and had I not been able to rescue some of the cabinets that I got, it would have costed me a lot more. We went from maybe spending, $2,000 on cabinets to spending, I don't know, I think I ended up at under $500. So that is a key component of successful tiny house building, in my opinion, from a reclaim perspective. I love the idea of being able to find something that's sitting and gathering dust and taking it and putting it into a functional working place, whether it's tiny or any other for that matter. But I hope you enjoy the video. My kitchen is done. A few windows to trim, a couple of loose ends to tie up, but I think we're going to start buttoning some of those loose ends up, and I think we're going to really enjoy this fall in this tiny house. I know I will. Thanks for watching.